It's me, Mario!
Nowadays, even strict parents and conservative politicians rarely have anything against harmless video game classics like Super Mario. But time and time again, there are moments in games that clearly go too far for many and cause huge shitstorms. In this video, you can expect, among other things, a children's game that was banned in Russia, absolutely tasteless mods, or a shooter mission that was way too violent for Germany. So, stay tuned here at Wonderlane. On number 8 is the game The Sims 4. The game is actually completely harmless. You build houses, make friends, and let your characters go to work. In Russia, however, the game has only been officially released for players over the age of 18, and can therefore only be purchased by adults. Even though The Sims is probably one of the most harmless games ever, the Russian authorities argued that The Sims propagates sexual permissiveness. However, even if it is possible to perform strongly censored sexual acts in The Sims, many critics fear that Russia is particularly bothered by the fact that same-sex partnerships are also possible in the game. In The Sims 4, men can marry men and women can be with women, something that is officially considered homosexual propaganda in Russia, where the government considers it harmful. This is the only reason why the game is no longer accessible for children and teenagers, which caused a lot of criticism, especially abroad. Let's continue with number 7, and a violent scandal from the game GTA San Andreas by Rockstar Games. Of course, the GTA series isn't exactly known for being harmless either, as car thefts, shootouts, and chases with the police are all part of the normal gameplay here. However, after a small minigame was discovered that the developers had hidden in the game, there was an international shitstorm. In the so-called hot coffee mod, you could have sexual intercourse with the main character CJ, whom you control, and determine exactly what CJ does. The minigame was only accessible via a modification and could not be found in the normal game without it, but it was built into GTA San Andreas by Rockstar Games themselves. And this fact caused so much outrage among politicians that the game was subsequently upgraded to a 21+ age rating and even taken out of stores. Rockstar Games then removed the minigame completely from GTA San Andreas and made sure with a patch for the original version that it would crash as soon as you tried to call up the hot coffee minigame. Now, let's move on to number 6, and a video game moment that most would probably consider harmless, but which upsets some people tremendously. It's about the game Super Mario 3D Land, which was released 10 years ago for the Nintendo 3DS. The jump and run game is released in our country from an age of 6 years, and in the game, you do exactly what you do in almost every other Super Mario game. Namely, you run and jump through the area, flatten enemies, and save Princess Peach. However, Mario is always in a raccoon costume in this game, and that was clearly too far for the animal rights group PETA. PETA was of the opinion that the game suggested that it was perfectly okay to wear fur and to accept the death of animals. Out of anger, PETA even developed its own minigame in which you control a raccoon that chases Mario. Here, Mario wears a bloody raccoon fur. Number 5 is not a single moment from a video game, but an entire game, which caused outrage among millions of gamers worldwide. We are talking about the open-world action game Cyberpunk 2077, which was released last year. The developer, CD Projekt Red, was primarily known for its game The Witcher 3, which was considered a masterpiece, and so the fans' expectations for Cyberpunk 2077 were enormously high. There were already promising trailers of the game with impressive graphics and fierce gameplay to see long beforehand, and millions of gamers therefore pre-ordered Cyberpunk full of anticipation. However, when the game was delivered, it turned out that it was still so unfinished that it was hardly playable. The graphics were muddy, the frame rate was catastrophic, textures loaded late, and the game was full of bugs. Players flew randomly through the air, the AI of passers-by made no sense at all, and Cyberpunk 2077 was thus hardly playable normally. As a result, many angry players demanded their money back. The studio had to suffer a massive shitstorm, and even the company's stock plummeted massively on the stock markets. Now, let's move on to number 4, and a way to earn money in GTA Online that many found simply too far. It is about the cocaine business empire. As the name suggests, you can build up a complete business with illegal substances in the online world, and then regulate everything from the purchase of ingredients, to the production of drugs, to the sale. Thus, you can gradually build up a huge illegal drug empire in the game, and become a true drug boss. Of course, this caused a lot of criticism, especially among parents whose children played the mod. After all, illegal substances are glorified. And indeed, some players also use them in the real world, as an 11-year-old boy had to realize. He had bought a used version of the game and found a plastic bag with the dangerous white powder in the package. On number 3 is the remake of a cult classic, which caused a huge outrage among strategy game fans last year. The publisher Blizzard released a remake of Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos in 2020, which was still enormously popular many years after its release. In the remake, however, the game maker actually did just everything wrong that was possible. For example, the multiplayer mode was totally buggy. Popular features from the original, such as automated tournaments, were simply eliminated. And all in all previously raised hopes for a good remake were dashed. What upset players the most was that they were forced to update the old original version to the new one in order to play the game at all. Within a very short time, the game collected so many bad reviews that it was named as the worst game of the year. Let's continue with number 2, and GTA 5. Not with the actual game, but with mods developed by fans. While most of the mods are just funny, there are also some that go way too far. A few years ago, a Nazi mod was actually released, in which you slip into the role of NS soldiers and attack the city. Even forbidden symbols are clearly visible, which understandably upset many players. In another mod that went too far for many, you can seduce the wife of main character Michael with character Franklin, and then go on dates with her or even dance together. The mod is quite bizarre, as it is even possible for Franklin to not only go on dates with Amanda, Michael's wife, but to go even further. But we won't go into those details now. Let's move on to number 1, and the game Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. We all know that there is shooting and violence in this game. After all, the Call of Duty series is a shooter that can only be played in this country from the age of 18. However, one mission in the popular game was too violent for the USK, which is responsible for age ratings of games, even for adult players, and so it had to be censored in Germany. In the mission No Russian, you are a spy with a terrorist group at an airport, and to avoid being noticed as a spy, you actually have to shoot innocent civilians. The manufacturer of the game said that they wanted to show how cruel terrorism is, but this argument was not accepted in Germany, and so the German version immediately breaks off and the mission fails as soon as you shoot innocent people. That's it for today's 8 violent video game moments that went way too far. Write us in the comments which of these moments you found the most offensive. If you enjoyed this video, we'd appreciate a like and a subscription. See you next time, here at Wonderlane.